A Chuck Norris reference in under 3 minutes of this episode. I've been clapping a lot lately because the epicness that I've been shown recently in these different episodes of anime have absolutely been phenomenal and amazing and insane at the same time. This episode, once again, has a different level of comedy compared to Barukamon, so this is like a different take on comedy. It's like defrag type level of comedy, and I enjoyed this episode. It was really freaking funny. It was enjoyable for the majority of the entire episode, and like I usually will say in a comedy anime, comedy is subjective, so most likely some people will say that this episode was really boring if they do not like this series, and nobody has similar taste when it comes to comedy. For instance, it's like how certain people do not like individual genres of anime, so some people will not like this specific form of comedy. So I just want to throw that out there before I begin on with this review. So this episode was good. I noticed a little bit of references in this episode, like the Chuck Norris one, and I feel like I saw a Final Fantasy VII reference. Now, the reference I'm getting at is the music soundtrack they had in the entire battle scene. I felt like that was like the Final Fantasy battle remix theme when you see, Cloud and them fighting, but I might be wrong. It might just sound a little bit similar to the soundtrack, but either way, this episode was enjoyable, and I love the comedy for the most part. It didn't feel that dry, and I love how they used the comedy with a narrator. The narrator, I feel like, is what's making the comedy so freaking good in this series. It's probably the best part about this series because the narrator says the right things at the right time that really makes me laugh my ass off. Like right at the beginning, the way you see him come in and start talking and say, oh, this is already episode 3. If you haven't gotten it by now, then get out of here and all that because it's not going to change. We're not going to discuss it no more. That was just really funny the way the narrator comes out of nowhere and makes fun of the individual characters, calls them unintelligent, stuff like that. It's a really enjoyable aspect to this series. Now, I love the comedy, especially towards the end of this episode with that little lolly girl. The way she acts is just so funny. And when you get to see Momoka's like, I'm gonna get my revenge. I always believe in getting my revenge. She called me an old hag. That's something I like about Momoka's character. One thing about her character that's really unique when it comes to anime is that she believes in getting revenge and completely hurting the opposite party. For instance, what she did last episode with Urara and completely tormented her and made her into an M. So, with this episode, we see that Momoka tries to get her revenge against this little lolly girl, but in turn, she really doesn't succeed. But I still love the little bit of fan service we had in this episode. Yes, there was fan service in this episode. It wasn't that bad. It was just funny the way it played out because it was just so awkward how this, Spall popped out of nowhere when, they were in a big battle in the forest. So that was really funny and awkward. Now, there is one thing I will complain about when it comes to this episode. Now, it's nothing major. It's nothing bad. It's nothing that depreciates the overall quality and comedy of this series. It's not. There's nothing wrong with the comedy in the series in my eyes. The main thing I see wrong so far is just the animation of this episode really dropped, especially with that CGI bees, the hornet bees. That was just a really bad scene, especially with the animation, because when you see them just floating there in front of everybody, it looks so out of place and weird and awkward, and it did not suit the character's expression. So that's one thing I want to point out. Besides that, the episode overall, it flowed well, even though there was a bunch of different scenes going on with the spa scene to the bees, to the freaking dorky, ditzy teacher that wears a freaking Kuma suit, which is really fucking adorable and cute. It flowed well. It didn't feel like a Jinsei. It didn't feel like they were going from one scene to the next so quickly. It felt like all these scenes flowed together and mixed together well. Overall, I would recommend this series. Remember what I said, it depends on your form of comedy, what you think entertains you when it comes to comedy. So most likely, there's probably going to be a couple of you that probably hate this series because of the comedy. So let me know if you found this comedy interesting or not. Please let me know in the comments below. I love all of you so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.